Hi, everybody. It's Barbara Boshin, and we're here for another installment of the weekly webinar. I'm from CoMerchant, and we are providers of software to help you relist onto Walmart and also to do automated keywording. Chakra Yandapali is usually on with me tonight, so I apologize in advance when I mess up the recording or I mess up the webinar, as I'm in control of all the buttons tonight. But he had a previous engagement and he couldn't make it. I'm really excited because tonight we have BobDale on, and BobDale has been a professional photographer for, I would say, most of his adult life, if not all of his adult life. Has a lot of great tips for us on how we can take better pictures, how we can overcome some of the challenges that we deal with when we're trying to do good photos for Amazon and for our other listings, because that's what sells things. So without further ado, hi Bob, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking to help people make their listings convert better. And so how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, here's one thing to think about. I'm going to get our screen share going here.
We're good. We can see it.
Good. How to make your e-com listing photos convert better, which is what we really want. We talked about just narrowing it down to photography, but it's really how people see the photographs, the other features that are on the photographs. One of the things that I find when talking to people about taking better photos is they are very frustrated by doing studio photography. And I just want to tell people that this is not easy to do. It seems easy, like if you buy the right equipment, it will be easy, but it is not. Such as, the belief is if you buy a good camera, then you are really good at taking photographs because you have a really good camera. And however, that doesn't translate to anything else in our society. And the advertising gods, with the little g I put there, have wanted us to believe that if you just buy enough things that you will easily be able to do what the item does. So if I were to go and let's say buy a guitar, let's say a $5,000 guitar, my guitar friends out there, they would know that's a pretty expensive guitar. And then I return it 2 weeks later and they ask me, well, why are you returning the guitar? And I said, well, I can't sound like Eric Clapton. Well, they said, you've only had it 2 weeks. So everybody understands you have to apply the skill to it also. You can buy dental tools. You can buy dental hygienist tools on eBay for a very small amount of money. But everybody would know that you have to apply the talent or the skill to that tool also. I'll give you another one that would be equally, I think, insulting to most Amazon sellers, is that someone would think, well, it's real easy to sell on Amazon, right? I mean, just tell me what to do. I got like 5 minutes. Tell me what to do to sell on Amazon.
Yeah, well, it's such an easy thing. No problem. Anybody can do it. I'm like, yeah.
Right. But it's real easy. Open up an account, find some things to sell, create listings, you're good. And so everybody would know that's an Amazon seller, that it doesn't work that way. And so I just want to say that part of it, that the same thing is true for product photography also. Can a person learn to do better studio photographs? Sure. It just takes months to years, like any other skill does. One of the things I want you to think about is how an advertising agency would do this. So if we had, and that's one way of doing it, right? We're selling on Amazon and we could take our product, whatever our product is, and take it to an ad agency. Here's their process and how they would put this together. You would be assigned an art director. That art director would do a creative layout in photographing to display your product. And they would need to know the features and benefits of the product so they know how to visually communicate without words, let's say, what your product does. So one of the things that they have to do is they need to source the props that go along with the photograph, the studio photograph. Are there models in the photograph? Okay, they need to find the models and what age is that model and what do you want to convey that a person of this age would use this product. And many times it can be a person from anywhere from 18 to 70 years old, if it's a kitchen product as such. But what do you want to convey in your image? Does this need to be a location shoot? Is either a location outside or a location inside? If you're outside, you need to get permits to photograph in some areas. So they would create this layout and then they would give it to the photographer so the photographer can look at it and say, okay, I understand what you want. This is a set of 3 of them and you have a tiered blocks and you're going to put a product in each one of those and you're going to have a few flowers and some other accessories that go with the image. Well, now you've communicated to the photographer what this is supposed to look like. Also, the art director would likely be at the photo shoot, as in for my agency clients, an art director will come in and help make sure that that scene is set up the same way as the layout. So that's the process they're going to go through and think, and I think you should think the same way too about doing your photographs for this. So I want to go through some tips, first of all, that will just help your session go better, just to help this process go better. And one of the questions in doing this is, because a lot of people do their own photos, I understand, whether they're using a cell phone or a 35 millimeter DSLR camera. And one of the questions is, can I do this or not? Does my product, and there's obviously hundreds of thousands of products on Amazon, I don't know your product and what unique features that it may have or unique difficulties, I should say. But you need to look at this and say, can I do this or not? Can I do these photos myself or do I need to hire a professional to do this for me? And with that photograph that I'm creating, is it an okay photo? Or is it a great photo that communicates to people quickly what your product does? One tip is to take a look at the Amazon listings for your competitors, for the top 8 to 10 competitors. What are they showing? How do you need to up your game to have visuals the same way they do? So that's one of the questions. Can I do this or not? That the average person's going to ask. Here's a good tip. Get 2 samples. Because if you get a sample, whether it's a US based or a China based supplier that you're getting it from, you hope that it's a perfect sample. Maybe, maybe not. But if you get 2 samples, at least you're upping your odds of having one that has the label straight on the bottle and not crooked.
Maybe not scuffed, and you just have less post-production that you'd have to handle.
Correct, absolutely. Does your product need to stand up? Is it a bag? Is it a animal? What is it? Does it need to stand up, and how easy or hard is that? So that's something that you have to be prepared with supplies for to do that, to make that stand up. Boxes have issues. The box doesn't always sit straight. When you get a box from the supplier, I will almost guarantee you it won't be perfect. So retouching goes along with photography if you're doing it yourself just as much, because you want to go in, you have to zoom way in, because keep in mind, you're giving Amazon a high-res image, assuming you want your images to be zoomed in on, and they're going to see the corner box dings. They're going to see the lint and the dirt on the bottle. They're going to see all those things. So retouching is a very important part of it also. So another thing you want to think of in doing your own photographs is size relationship. And how does that happen? It could be a ruler. You put a ruler in there and show it with it. It could be an apple, kind of. There's small apples, there's really big apples. It can be, depending on the size of your product, a coin, such as if it was a necklace, and the pendant on the necklace, is that the size of a 50-cent piece, a quarter, or a dime? Oftentimes, hands are used for size relationship, and that can work also, to have a hand in the photograph. That's a nice size relationship thing. Is your object shiny or made of glass? glass things are extremely difficult to photograph. Another complaint I hear from people is they get these white cube light tents and they put the item in there and it almost disappears. Glass is very difficult to do, or if part of your product is glass or shiny being the thing. White on white, tough to do. And what the professional photographer has to work with is lighting. That's what we know. That's how we use the lighting to create a mood or an effect. So when I hear people say that white on white is difficult and they try and get rid of the shadows, you actually want a shadow on your product. You want one side a little bit lighter or a little bit darker than the other side because you want to show shape and dimension. Does your product have shape and dimension that needs to be shown? So putting it in a light tint, we'll call them the cubes. Barbara, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we have, I think we have 3 at this point. We have one that you could stand in, one is a tabletop, and then there's another one that we have the turntable in.
Sure. And then putting lights in from the outside, but that is very set. That is a set defined setup. Whereas a professional photographer will likely not use one of those and will use their lighting and diffusion to where it needs to go, so the shiny parts of it or the reflective parts of it look gooder. Gooder is my word for the day. It's a real word, isn't it, Barbara?
What, better?
Gooder.
Gooder's a good word, yeah.
Gooder.
Good, gooder, goodest.
Make it look gooder. Black on black is another thing, or a black product on white. So one of the Amazon listings I'm going to be showing in a little bit is a trunk organizer. And they did a really nice job of it because that trunk organizer is pretty much all flat black. And they were able to show the contour in it. A very difficult product to photograph.
I know when I look at clothes, I always buy a lot of black clothes, but I always look at in the other colors that it comes in because I usually can't see anything on Amazon. If it's a black dress, I'm like, I got to see this in purple to see where the belt is, to see where the bodice is and what's the cut on the neck, because it's, black on black. I can't see anything.
Right. Yeah, it's tough to see. Is your product very small and needs macro photography, as in jewelry or some very small items? Is your item a food or kitchen item that needs to be displayed with food, which is a specialty in itself, because it is real easy to make food look bad. It takes a lot of talent to have food look really great in being in a photograph. So I asked in the group the other day how many people were using cell phones and how many people are using 35mm cameras, and it seemed to be maybe about half and half. And I know it's common to use a cell phone. The challenge with using a cell phone is our phones nowadays are super wide lenses. And so if you have an object, where do I have an object here? Okay, I have a microphone. And so you have this in your light tent. And so if you're using a cell phone, of course, you want to make the object appear as large as possible. So you would move the phone really close to your product, right? That's what most people do. However, in product photography, I never, ever in the studio use a wide angle lens. And if
we can't see what you're doing because you've got the screen share on.
I'm sorry, I forgot that
I didn't realize that I was on the other side of there we go.
Yeah, that's funny. Let me see here. I'm going to stop the sharing for a second. I forgot that too. So your product is here. Let's say it's a microphone and it's in your light tent. So most people will take the cell phone and move it really close to it to fill up the frame, right? Because you want to have the object really close. But as I mentioned, in the studio, I would never, ever use a wide angle lens in doing product photography. And if you want to see an example of what this does, do a selfie, turn it around, hold it really close to your face and do the selfie, what happens? Your nose is distorted and your head's back here. The same thing is happening to your product. And so if you were using a cell phone, you want to be a ways away from it and you want to zoom in. Well, Bob, when I'm holding onto the phone and I zoom way in, it's like binoculars, right? Because you're magnifying, everything's moving around like this, right? And you don't want to be taking that photo with it zoomed in like that because it's not going to be sharp. So there are mounts that they sell on Amazon. You want to get a mount that your cell phone goes into, and you want to put it on a tripod. Now you can zoom in because everything's held still with the tripod.
And none of these things are big money. Even the photo boxes aren't money. The tripod's not big money. The holders usually it's they're all $20 under $20 a piece, maybe even under 10.
Yes, correct. I'm going to go back to our screen again here. That's exactly right. I would encourage people to not use a cell phone for doing product photos. And one of the reasons is on the cell phone, that if it's if whatever, let's say you have a darker product in your light tint, you have to adjust that exposure. But the challenge is you're never going to have the same exposure twice. That's one of the challenges. So your exposure is going to be all over the place for your products if you're doing different images, different shots with them. So the product lightness and darkness is not going to be the same. So get a bracket, put it on a tripod. For a 35 millimeter, I would encourage people to have it on a tripod also, because even if you're hand holding, that little bit of motion can still affect your sharpness. You want a tack sharp image. You want to make sure on your phone, I'll go back to phone for a minute, that your image is the highest resolution that your camera will do. On your camera, I would recommend doing the highest resolution JPEG and or RAW photo file format that you can do.
Tracy, just before we move off this one, I want to ask this one question. Tracy's saying when you put the phone on the tripod and you want to take that close-up picture, are you zooming in or are you moving the tripod with the phone on it closer?
Depends. And I'm glad she asked that, because did you know that on cell phones, there's optical zoom and there's digital zoom? Your optical zoom only goes so far, and then after that, the digital zoom takes over and interpolates what the sharpness should be. So my Samsung S20 that I have here will do up to, I think, 100x, 100 times telephoto. I'm almost sure it is not doing it optically, it's doing it digitally. So to answer her question, if I was doing close-up detail, I would move the tripod in somewhat, but I would still keep that on a telephoto. I wouldn't move it real close because, again, you're going to distort the shape of your product somewhat for that. So the short answer is you want to zoom in, you don't want to zoom in too much, because then you get out of your optical zoom, you get into your digital zoom, and it won't be as sharp.
That makes sense.
So I mentioned here the light tint or the light cubes. They're just, they're made as a one size fits all, and one size fits all doesn't work for tabletop product photography for the most part. So what are the types of photos that we can do, and how do we take our photos to the next level? And there's different levels of photography that I do in the photo studio, or people that do their own photos can do. You're depending again on product, and there's hundreds of thousands of products. So, this may not apply, but usually you're going to want to do a top photograph looking down on the product from the front, from the side, a 3/4 view from the side, from the other side. Sometimes you want to show the bottom of the product, and sometimes you want to show the back of the product. For that, I'm trying to think of something you said earlier, Barbara, that reminded me about this. Okay, Another thing that you can do from there, and we're going to take a look at a few listings in just a minute here, is what I call call outs that are featuring a small detail. So you have a bag, and this bag has a unique zipper clasp attachment on it. So you show the whole bag, but then you have like this little bubble, almost like a cartoon bubble, that shows the feature of the zipper, and it just gives them more information in the same photo. That can be done on each image to show a particular detail of that product. Or you can do what I call a picture-in-picture, where maybe you're just showing a close-up square or a close-up feature of that particular item. This other one that I'm calling detail copy bars would be just a colored bar at the bottom or the top that states one of the features. So these are graphic processes that we're doing afterwards, right? We're taking our images and we're putting copy on them that gives additional information. Because think of it this way: what if we had no words on Amazon? We couldn't use any words on our listing, which is probably not too far from the way many people buy on mobile.
Right. I've always said everything you say in a bullet, you have to say in a picture, because people look at things different. People are different kinds of learners. People are different kinds of buyers, and they're just looking at the picture. And so, yeah, and that's positive and negative. So when you get feedback, you may want to, and you change it in your wording, in your copy, you need to change in your images as well.
Correct. The other thing is what we're calling infographics that may have a number of different call outs for that particular product. You might have 5 different little copy bubbles that tell about it or show something from it. Flats are another thing, and I'll show you what a flat is in just a minute. And it's a really kind of cool way of adding some additional dimension to your photograph, even though it's flat. But I'll show you what I mean. I'll show you what it is. So what else can we do with these images? We can take these images then and put them into a video, putting your listing images into a video and now running video ads. And that ad may have music over it. The video may have your listing images with copy in the video that gives some of the features. You may do a voiceover that tells about the images. And as Barbara knows, I do voiceover work. You can find me at voiceoverbob.com. And so I've done some voiceovers for doing Amazon videos, Amazon listing videos. So that's another level. I think this is a tremendous opportunity that most people are not taking advantage of.
And it's easy to do. I mean, doing a video where you're going to go out and you're going to do a live shoot, and 10 times something a bird flies into the scene or something happens, it's a lot of work, a lot of post-production work, and most of us, it's next level. I mean, even taking photos is next level. So taking videos is like next level. But you can do a slideshow video where you're just reiterating. They say that sometimes I don't know if it's 3 times or 6 times. You have to see the name of something. You have to familiarize yourself with the product 6 times before you buy it. And every time you can go and relist those features and say, yes, it has a pull zipper and buttons. It has this, it's this. And if you can reiterate that all in your images and then in your video, so nice to have that reminder to the person looking at that ad that they're getting it, 6 ways from Sunday. They're seeing it in the title, they're seeing the bullets, they're seeing in the images, and they're seeing in the video. And it's so easy to make a slideshow video.
And what is your copy that you're going to say in the video? It likely comes from your bullet points in your title.
Yeah.
That's oftentimes where the copy comes from. So how can, if you've decided that this is beyond your skill set, or that you'd like fantastic looking photographs rather than okay looking photographs, and a person may decide, hey, my photos are okay, and I'm going to put them in the listing, and my competitors are fantastic, but that's the way it is. I don't want to pay for having fantastic photographs. That's up to each individual Amazon seller. As I mentioned earlier, to send 2 of your product to the photographer, so they can even, depending what the product is, take pieces from one and use with the other, would be one thing. Send great samples. Look at them really closely because the camera sees everything. Look at it real closely. When you ship it to your photographer, package it really well so it doesn't get dinged up. Right? The photographer can't, there's only so much you can do in Photoshop with items if they aren't great samples to begin with. Find out when your photographer is photographing your item, and ideally be available during that time if the photographer has any questions. That would be important while they're still shooting. Are you expecting your product to be returned to you or not? Okay, that's a question your photographer is going to ask you. It obviously depends on the price of the product. So remember that ad agency idea that we were talking about and how they kind of do it and put everything together, source the product, source the props, the location, the people, the models. You're going to want to send your photographer, pardon?
Yes, yep.
You're going to want to send your photographer supporting props. So I'll use a bag as an example. If you ship your photographer a bag and you want to show what goes in the bag, send the photographer everything that goes in the bag. You can't necessarily expect the photographer to go out shopping and buy your items that need to go into the bag. If it's a food item, a little different story. But again, there's hundreds of thousands of products, so each product will vary, obviously. I want you to think like an ad agency about your product, because they're using, they're putting all that information of the demographics, male, female, how this product is used. They're putting all that information into the photographs. And I've created something called a product photography brief, and I want to offer that to everybody. To do that, you can go to my website, or actually I'm going to give you a link. You can go to my website at bobdale.com, and toward the bottom there's a link on there that says get my photography brief or product photography brief. But I'm going to put a link in the chat to you in just a minute here, and people can get a product photography brief. This is something that not only you want to think about, that you can use if you're doing your own photos, of how to put as much sales into your photos as possible, but it also helps you communicate with your photographer tremendously on what you would like to have. It is like I say, if I'm going to paint your house, I need to know what color you want. And sometimes people say to me as the photographer, well, they don't know exactly what they want the product to look like or what goes with it. And they're saying, well, you're the professional, you should know what to do with it. Yes, I do, but everything is subjective. I know how to make the product look great, but having input from the customer helps an awful lot. Because going to do the photographs and then show them to the customer and they say, well, that isn't exactly what I wanted. I would have no idea if they didn't tell me what they wanted for that part. Barbara, any questions that you have so far? Anything you want to talk about?
Before we go, the thing I wanted to point out to everybody too is that it's not just photographs. And we were talking about this before we started doing the webinar, started turning the camera on. It's about the emotion that you're trying to convey too, right? You sort of got your main image, it's on a white background. There's only so much emotion you can get in there, but you're trying to engage that person in your copy and your bullets, and your copy and your description and your title. But you're also trying, pictures, picture says it has 1,000 words. Is that says 1,000 words? Yep. You really are trying to get that person to involve themselves in those images. So when you're thinking of your props, you don't want to just, if you have a toy, you don't want to just put like some keys next to it. You want to put something similar to the item that you're presenting.
And so when people look at the photos in mobile and they're scrolling through your photos, when they get to the last photo, you want them to say, I want that.
Yeah.
and hit the buy
That's
button.
mine. I'm in that process. I've already bought it in my head. It's already mine.
Right, right. I'll just go through a few listings here and show a few that I picked out. This is a very difficult item to photograph. And I was talking about it earlier. It's a black in black, black on black. The photographer did a really nice job here with this one. This is a type of item, if you were using a cell phone, now this would be kind of large for a light tent. They do make a lot of light tents that are big enough. But if you're using a cell phone and you put it, obviously, did the same angle here, you're going to get a distorted perspective. This photographer has perfectly straight lines here that remain straight. So this was a nice job of this. Difficult item to photograph. Okay, so they did like a before after here. This was pretty cool. And these are these copy, pardon?
That is pretty neat.
Yeah, these are these copy bars that I talked about. Organize your trunk. So that was a feature thing. Even on the before and after the before, they didn't wash the vehicle. See this bumper here?
Yeah, like your car beforehand shows how dirty and filthy you are, and now you're an organized master. It's like it's a different car, and they even painted it. Yeah, it's not even the same car.
Here's an item with again that copy bar. Let me go back. Where am I here? The copy bar at the top. Feature callouts on the bottom. They're not photo callouts, but they're adding the additional information in there. Putting sizes in here, although I swear the average person can't tell what 6 inches long is. I have an item that I sell, and I have it right in the title what the size of it is, and they they say, well, it was too small, and so I don't know about. So I created a video.
We'd have to do the title. We'd have to do the bullets. We'd have to put rulers in. We've had human beings holding it, and an apple, and then finally they could tell how big 8.5 inches was without being surprised that it was only 8.5 inches.
Right. Depending on your product may have other contents that goes in it. This is a nice job of this. So that was a nice one. This one, the photos are on the bottom. I've never seen this before. I've never seen photos on the bottom.
No, the last one they had a 360. I don't know how that gets done. That must be something special that Amazon allows you to do.
I wonder if that's a big brand only kind of thing.
Might be.
Here, nice look that they have here with it. Here we have these kind of photo callouts in the lower left. This is a model that they hired, is going to be my guess. They're showing a split image here that they're showing a long shot and a close-up of the item, and then a copy bar across the top. Okay, another nice job here with the photos on the bottom. So a picture-in-picture that we were talking about. Now this is what I was talking about when I said flats. So you photograph on the item straight down. They didn't hang this on the wall. They're photographing straight down on it. This one, and is it the next one? These two images right here, these are vinyl backgrounds, likely, that you can buy on Amazon. They're maybe 3 by 5 feet. And you can use this as a background, and they're doing set design with it, with the fruit around it.
Couldn't you Photoshop it in on, I mean, we could buy those backgrounds on Deposit Photos and just slide them in there as long as we're on a white.
Possibly. Could be, possibly. So one of the things you'd want to do is to not have it look cut out. But you bring up a point. Sometimes that can work to put photos in.
The issue is always the shadowing.
Yep, it's the shadowing to make it look real. So here again, the background, very possibly a vinyl background. Oh shoot, I just gave away one of my secrets. Sorry.
The vinyl background?
The vinyl backgrounds. Yes, you can buy those, but again, showing this in use. Okay, what was the other one that I picked out here? Now, this I thought was interesting because everything is so pristine and perfectly straight. If you can get anything in your listing that's red is a call out color. Our eyes will immediately go to red.
Oh, okay.
Anything to put in with it. Is this a legal image to use? My guess is not.
Click on that. Oh, that's the main image. That's
The main
not.
image. Okay. So I guess one of the things that I'm saying is to know what your competition is doing, to know what you're up against. This
Yeah,
is
I mean,
just a
if we were
very,
to look at this, I should turn Karen on so she can tell us all the things that are wrong with this listing. The emoticons, and I don't know how if it's got extra bullets. A lot of badness on that, but
yeah, and they get by with it. So I don't know what to think of that. Now this is one that I thought was interesting down here, because this is an image with the background. This shows the product in use, but the image is cut out. I'm sorry, the background is cut out.
right. So it's
And so
technically the bots wouldn't pick it up, but it's still incorrect.
yes, but it is a white background. This is the product image they're looking for, but I think they have a competitive advantage
I
doing
agree, but I would write back
this.
and say I didn't get the pot or the spaghetti.
Well, good point. You have to put in
Yeah.
your listing, what comes with it. So, and actually what is with this? It's the strainer.
Mm-hmm.
It's the strainer. So this is their hero image. They just pulled the background out of it.
Right.
For that. So let's see, what else did we have in here? Okay, infographic, multiple things that are called
That's
out
nice.
here. A nice close-up of it. Okay, pretty straightforward image here. Turn that off. And then that one. What was another? I can't get into my other page here because my bar is covering it at the top. Oh, I'll get it. I'll just close a few things here. What was this other one? Oh, car accessories. Here again, I don't see how these are compliant images, but
Yeah.
maybe.
They didn't read the rules.
Right. But a lot of these sellers are using copy. These are these callouts that I was talking about, a close-up of the others. So I offer those graphic services also, in addition to doing photography, for people if they want to, do picture-in-picture or call-out images like this also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, questions. Should we get some questions?
So yeah, I'm going to say let me put everybody, we have, the iPhone. I usually do the iPhone pictures is bad. I do a placeholder so I can get the stuff listed, and then it goes into the cycle to go with the 35 millimeter and the tents and everything. Now I basically get a picture up there that looks like Frankenstein, but it has a white background, and then the team will fix it. I wonder, I think what we need to do is maybe make more of a system. I don't think we're making a good system. I think we need to have, we're not getting all our pictures done. We're doing, we're doing just in time, but never getting back to finishing it, which I know is a big problem for people.
I've done it myself.
Yeah, and I don't know how, quote unquote, to solve that. I mean, it's just like, maybe for me, it's just being more patient, but, yeah, I don't know. I guess my point being is when you're planning a new product, you've got to plan for this too. I mean, I sit there and I talk about what the launch process should be, but all this stuff should be done before you ever launch, day one. You should have the most perfect listing, the most perfect images, the most perfect, maybe you can maybe delay the video a little bit, that, but, and I'm guilty of not doing it, but I mean, I know that's what needs to be done, is you need to have your best foot forward right from the start. Oh, Karen, like.
Yes, right.
Let me unmute you. Oh,
what Bob had mentioned before, when you get your samples, that's a good time to get extra samples, even if it's more than 2, so that you can get the samples to whoever's going to be doing the photography, and so that it's ready for when your product arrives, plus for your trademarks or anything else, But plan
Sure.
ahead because it can take a while for product images to get them right.
Yeah, so it probably makes sense to get 10 or 20 of an item, get your photographs, pick the best one out of those, create the listing like Barbara says, and I've done that myself in creating listings. I get a photo up there so I can send it into FBA because it's going to take them 2 weeks to spread it all over the country. But I'm not going to make it for sale until 30 days from now. You just want to go back and complete your process of having your photographs look fantastic.
Right, right. Tracy, unmute yourself.
Tracy's asking a question about models and model releases.
Yeah. I'm trying to unmute everyone, but don't know how to do it.
Correct. To hire models, you should have a model release stating the company name, your company name as the seller of the product, not the photographer's name. And your photographer should be getting you model releases from those models.
And how good are those for? How long are those good for?
I don't know that there's any limit of time on them.
Okay.
Especially important if you have minors in the photo. Kids.
I was going to ask, if I can, whether you have to make allowance for the fact that the person seeing the images may have their monitor calibration, off. That's maybe too contrasty. Do you try and keep things in the mid-tones to allow for the fact that, you have no control over how the person viewing it has their equipment set up?
Philip has an excellent point that I should have brought up during this. When I do photographs, I'm going to have a gray card in there or a color checker in there. So when I send the photographs to the client, I have a color corrected monitor on my computer, like graphic designers use, and obviously professional photographers. And so I know that is exactly the color that is supposed to be. Now, getting out to what Amazon is showing or what their phone is showing or what their computer is showing is like the Wild Wild West, because there's at least 100 shades of red, right? And so what can you do as a photographer? Very important in I'll harp a little bit on cell phones again. They have an auto color temperature selection. Some of the photos might be a little yellow, they might be a little blue, but it's kind of the same lighting, but you moved in closer on some and out on the others. In other words, you don't have consistency in the photos. But you want your photo that you're putting up in a listing to be as accurate as possible, is what Philip's talking about, to having that being color corrected. If you're doing your own photographs, you're going to have a system in some way that you color correct your photographs in your computer monitor before you put them up on the listing. As I said, there's 100 shades of red. If people think it's one red, and we don't have control over their monitors or their phones.
Right.
But if they think it's a one red and another red shows up, that means returns.
Sanjay had a question. Are there any copyright issues using models, especially if you get a successful product? Is that what the release is for?
Yes, a model release says that they give their permission to you, the company or photographer, to use that photograph, and they may or may not be compensated for it. There are model releases on the internet at different places that you can find. But that is, I don't think if the product is more successful that they have any rights to come back and ask for more, but it depends what the wording says. I haven't heard of that, but in today's society, anything's possible.
Okay, yeah.
We're looking at that image of the saucepan and the strainer. I see some people will quite often kind of gray out or desaturate the part of the image that isn't actually part of the product offer. Is that a valid approach? Do people get that, or does that not really help at all?
Philip, I think it's anything you can do. What Barbara is talking about and saying, a pot and pasta not included in caps, and graying that out would be another way of doing that. Does that communicate to people? Do they get it, that the pot and the pasta doesn't come with it? maybe.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, we've put it in the bullet, we put it on the images. It's the last picture has like a lifestyle image complete with, how it would be used. And, I get someone ordered the product 2 times and both times they didn't get the extra pieces. And I was like, well, but it says that the extra pieces aren't included. And then they asked me to give it to them for all their trouble and, difficulty. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't help you.
If you
And
go
not
to-
included.
What did you say?
And not included.
And
Yeah.
not included.
Yeah.
If you go to my website and
Accepted, yes.
if you go to my website and see some of the photos I've done, will be a bag. And then there's a lot of things that are in the bag, all the fruit that you can put in the cooler bag and all that kind of stuff. You got to tell them all the food is not included along with it.
It's not a plastic toy bag, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to put that link in the chat, Barbara, that people can go
Okay.
to if they want that
Perfect. Thank
photography
you.
brief, product photography brief. It will help you. It will help you do better photos. It will help you communicate with your professional photographer in a more easy way and get better photographs.
That's great. Thank you. Is there anything like I'm now, like I never thought about, like I've thought about white because I knew white was hard, but glass, like we're doing a lot of glass objects now. Unfortunately for me, the manufacturer is giving me the images. So they're already the glass is colored and it's pre-shadowed. So you could tell what it is on their website. So, I was like, oh, as I'm doing the listings, I'm like, oh boy. Oh, okay. Thank goodness. So I'm looking, I'm going, my pictures are going to be terrible. But fortunately, is there anything else besides those black and black, white and white, and glass? Is there's something else that and I don't mean to put you on the spot. Is there any other things that you find are very difficult to take? Is it, to do that
In general, shiny,
shiny? Mm-hmm.
shiny, anything that has a reflection in it. And the skill that we have as professional photographers is using lighting, showing contour, showing
Mhm.
shadows, having highlights that make sense. Again, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of different products,
Right.
but reflection is can be a challenge.
There's an old, when I first started doing this, there's an old meme about somebody photographing a silver coffee pot on eBay. And the reflection is there and he's not wearing clothes.
Yep, he didn't think
That's
of that
your
part.
perfect example
Yep.
of, the reflection is everything. Why are you taking pictures in the nude? Maybe it's hot, who knows? But
Yeah. Any
maybe he
other
wasn't selling the
questions?
coffee pot. We'll never know. But okay. Anyone else have any questions? Coming up on our hour. Well, thank you very much. I thought Sandra had another question saying thank you. I'm really excited to have you on. We've been talking about this for a while and we finally found the right date. And I thank you so much for lending us your photography skills and know-how. So
Sure.
guys,
sure.
if you have any questions, Bob is in our group, Amazon exclusive on Facebook. So he's always posting photography tips and he's there to answer anything. Be sure to check it out. Okay, thank you.
You can find me at bobdale.com.